This sketchbook is 2017 to 2018, so that year. I haven't finished the 2019-2021 yet. It's my first red sketchbook that I've ever had. I like that it stands out from the rest of my black moleskins. Sketching for me is, I actually really like pencil drawing, so some of them are more finished than others, but it's when I have an idea and I want to just lay it out somewhere so then I can forget about it and come back to it later on. There is probably a few in here that will be like that. I was working out my business, I guess. So I was working out how to do a business card and what kind of design I wanted to have on it. This is what I ended up staying with for my business card, which ended up looking like this for the full rendered sketch. So, oh yeah, and then I've got a bow which should be in the sketchbook as well on the back. I really liked just the idea of an elf with, you know, my favorite color green, and she's a warrior. This is just something that represents me in my eyes. This was Drawtober, so it must have been 2017, but they were all Drawtober. It's like Inktober, except you can use whatever medium you want. So I did, for every 2 pencil drawings, I did a digital drawing as well. I don't remember what all the prompts were. This was Wraith, I believe. I really liked playing with like a cartoony style for this one. I'd never done anything like that. It was a lot of fun, and I should get back into more stuff like that, I think, because I really liked it. This guy, I believe I did color him in digitally. It was some kind of water creature, I think, that I did with that. This is gonna be Skeleton March, which I did later on in the book. This is L from Death Note, and that was gonna be Kira, although I didn't really finish much. These prompts came around when I watched the Netflix version of Death Note, and I wasn't a fan. It wasn't, not what I was hoping for. So I was like, you know what, how would I design it? And I do that a lot. There's the bow. So that's on the back of my business card with all my details and stuff next to it. Pretty simple. I put a bit of shadowing and stuff. I just wanted something interesting there. There's my Skeleton March. Yeah, again, playing with like different symmetry and style with this one. That was a lot of fun. That was a pirate. I don't remember what she was for, but this is Lulu from Final Fantasy, and I did turn this into like a full digital painting. It was for my sister because that was her favorite Final Fantasy character, so I gave it to her as a Christmas present, because when you're a starving artist, those are the best kind of presents you can give. This was something to do with the Drawtober. I think it was like demon prints, pumpkin head, and Valkyrie, maybe might have been the prompt for that one. I really liked this, like just the gradient that I had going and playing with everything. It's pretty creepy, but you know, that's what I do. Oh, this was unicorn blood, which, I mean, I don't know if everyone would think of that, but it definitely made me think of Harry Potter. So I drew Voldemort drinking a dead unicorn's blood. The prompt for this was slime, probably. Or ooze, something like that. There's a little car in there. Made it really, really big. That was my demon prince from a couple of pages ago. Yeah, he was alright. I don't remember what the prompt for her was. Something to do with, mushroom harvester. It would have been picking mushrooms. I didn't like this design. I really like mushrooms and plants and like mixing them into their own kind of creature. So I would like to do something with that later on. But yeah, a lot of these, because anyone who's ever done Inktober or Jawtober before will know you have a day to come up with an idea, make it, finish it, render it, and then upload it like all in the same day. And you know, most of us have a job to do, so a lot of these were done in a matter of 2 or 3 hours, because yeah, I just didn't have the time otherwise. This was poison apple, or maybe it was just poison, but I came up with the idea of the apple, so I did this one first, just as something simple, and then I was like, oh, maybe I'll draw like the witch, because I like to do characters, but the eyes are really big, and I don't know what's going on with this hand. Like, there's a lot that I don't like about this, but that's okay. Zombie Child, I believe this one was, and this was Monster Masquerade. So I thought it'd be cool to have like a party with he was like a vampire hunter, that's this little cross there, and you've got like Frankenstein's wife and Nosferatu, and I thought you'd have all these monsters in the background. But yeah, that's about as far as I got with that one. Oh, and I ended up doing this one as well because I thought it might be easier, just having them all dancing with each other. Pretty much the same idea. And this was Red Riding Hood. I actually like the idea of doing like a massive beast and then a girl to sort of go, like a young girl to be the beast rider, I suppose. So I thought that would be an interesting twist, like Red Riding Hood isn't afraid of the beast, she actually controls it, and then she might be some kind of warrior. So yeah, that's what I did with that one. I think it was like Scary Daycare or something like that. So he's got his little like strainer on his head and his cardboard sword, and I don't know, I thought it'd be cute to have a kid like going into his big scary place. We've all been there. At this point in my drawing, I realized I don't draw enough. I didn't have enough versatility. I drew a lot of women, a lot of girls, a lot of warrior girls, stuff like that. So I wanted to work on my male portraits, and you might see later on I start doing like older people as well to sort of change it up a little bit. So yeah, this is just some practice. These two are inspired by Feverworm because she's amazing and I love her style, and these are just pictures from Pinterest. That guy. Oh, these, I did a painting of Rhaegar Targaryen from Game of Thrones, or A Song of Ice and Fire. I did actually a tutorial on how I sort of did his face, because what I did was I kind of would get like the eyes from one guy and the nose from another guy and the jawline of another guy and put it all together. So yeah, you can go check that out. I'll pop a link in the description for that. But these were ideas for costumes, and a lot of the polls liked this one best when I posted that, so that's what I went with. These were compositions of the Rhaegar painting. I sort of went with this one, but I had it as a nighttime scene. This is just a girl feeling a bit trapped at a certain point in my life. Yeah, I don't know, it's kind of funny. You look back and this page holds a lot of feelings and memories. Not super bad, like it's not that big of an issue, but it's funny when you look back to it and you're like, oh yes, I remember what I was thinking that day. That might have meant to be a self-portrait, which doesn't look like me. I don't think the eyes are way too big, it's very cartoony. But anyway. This guy, I saw him in like a ruffled up blanket on the ground, and I was like, hey, that kind of looks like a face, and I thought I'd take note of it, and I just quickly scribbled it down because I could later turn him into a character if I wanted to. I never have yet. And at this point I was trying to work out how to do creatures, because I love fantasy and I draw a lot of people and characters, but creatures are like a really big part of that. So that was sort of one idea I had. I've had a few others since. Like this guy, he's a fairy. I thought that we'd make their nose really broad and have like just little like whiskers on their head for the hair and on the body, and like a scarred tattoo all over their skin, but I didn't really go far with that one. This is one of the drawings where I was trying to do an old man to make my drawings a bit more versatile and learn a bit more about portraits. And I was going to have him have like a big staff, because if I'm going to draw an old man, he might as well be an old wizard. This sketch, I did actually turn this into a full drawing. It was one of 3, and I think I came up with the idea of her first, and then as I was drawing this, I had a couple of other ideas, and I was like, yeah, they'll all have like a shape in the background, and they'll all be some kind of fantasy creature. A vampire and a dwarf, obviously. Just practice, probably. That's Donald Glover, because I don't know, he is a great singer, like great comedian, great dancer, great actor, like he does everything. So I don't know, I drew his face. This guy, I think it's in this sketchbook where I start working on a comic, and he was sort of my main character for that. I only got like 2 chapters actually finished, and I was sort of halfway through sketching the 3rd chapter, but I'm not a very good story writer, you know, like you give me an idea and yeah, I can turn that into a visually like acceptable picture, but yeah, when it comes to actually writing the characters and the stories, I'm not great at that, so I gave up after a while. This guy was going to be a unicorn man to go with her. I thought I'd do a man. This is, again, trying to draw like an old man's face. The face is actually based off Alan Watts, because I listen to him a lot. He just talks about philosophy, like Eastern, like Chinese, Buddhist philosophy, and his voice is so soothing. I just like to have it on in the background, and it kind of, yeah, I do that when I'm drawing a lot. So I did him, and again, I was gonna try and give him like a wizard's hat or something like that. This rugged face with like really sketchy scribbly lines around it. I actually really like this drawing. I like the style of just being rough and rugged, and yeah. What was her name? The character from Overwatch. She's Torbjorn's daughter. Blast, I forget her name. Anyway, this was fan art of her. It was when she'd just come out. I don't know, and I've always wanted to do fan art, but I also want to like change the costume and make my own version of the costume, so I get stuck there a lot of the time and never actually finish any of the ideas that I get. Yeah, but that was her, definitely. These are, again, pushing my stylization and doing portraits. So I was trying to do sort of like a caricature style. I think these 2 started out really well, and then they got more and more sort of realistic, but just with like big eyes, so I kind of lost it after that, but that was a lot of fun. Man with blue beard. I think I was doing a design for Daenerys Targaryen in these pictures. I gave her like dragon horns, because I did this big, well, it's an A4 pencil drawing of like a big dragon eye with her in front of it, so that's what I was working out there. I don't know what this was. Just a costume design, I think. This is a one of my very few environment designs. It actually worked out really well. It's not a thing that I do very often, and all I wanted to do was some really like twisty, sort of like bonsai looking trees, and then I thought I'll make it into a whole forest, and then I put this shrine there, and there's a person there, and yeah, I turned it into like a whole thing, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. This again was my comic book character. I was working out costumes for him. I sort of went with this one, but it wasn't quite as detailed. What I realized in the end is if I'm doing a comic, I need it to be like simple enough to quickly draw a lot of times. So I simplified it in the end. More ideas for costumes we had here. I was thinking of doing like mermaid, doing a girl with a fishtail. I didn't in the end. I think the last time I did mermaid was like 2017. This was going to be my second character of the comic. She was a girl mage. Basically we had like the guy would have his big sword. He was just like a warrior, and the girl was a mage but of like illusion, so she would just kind of twist your mind and make you see things that weren't really there. And her costume, this is kind of what I went with. I actually think it looks better in this drawing than any other drawing I did after that. But yeah, that was sort of the idea that I was going with there. And I gave her this jewel on her head, which was meant to be like the source of her power, and then if it gets broken, then she big monster will probably come out. But again, I didn't get that far in the story, so spoilers. These are my panels. This was when I first started working on my very first comic. I actually cut this part out. I realized it was kind of irrelevant, and I just started when he was in the forest. So I've done these panels, they're all done. That was meant to be Kratos from God of War. I hated it. I'll try to do him again one day, but that didn't work out. Guts from Berserk. I sort of just started getting into Berserk at the time. Might have been why I wanted to make a comic, because I was super inspired by Miura, and just like his dark, twisted stories. I really like that. And that was meant to be Casca. I have more recently done a different version of her. She looked, I don't like this. Her eyes are too big, her lips are too small. Disregard that one. Joffrey, because he's just got that face that you hate, right? He does it really well. These are more panels. He's like running through a forest, and then there's a big crack in the ground, and the ground breaks below him, and all these creatures start coming out. That was going to be like a draw this in your style image, which I didn't really do much with. Didn't work out in the end. You know how like you get inspired and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this and it's going to be great, and then it doesn't, and then you just kind of give up. And then these creatures are all attacking him, and then the second character comes into play and saves them with their magic. And they have their introduction. So these are mostly just panels. That was going to be the inside of her little cottage that's out in the forest. Again, a little bit of like an environment design, an indoor environment design, which I'd never really done before, and I really liked it. I should do more. There is something exciting about like creating a whole world, and you start and you don't really have much, but as you continue on, you're like, well, they'd live in a house, and then in their house they'd have like food and stuff on the shelf, and she'd probably have a lot of books because she's a mage and she studied magic, and it sort of goes from there. This panel, his foot's all messed up because he got stuck in the rocks there. it was kind of fun to draw like a wounded, gross leg. And then she's like, I don't know, making fun of him. They talk, she's got food in her mouth, she's a mess. And then they meet. How sweet. And then these panels, they never made the light of day. What happened, there was actually like a competition, a webtoon, which is where my comic is at the moment. Again, I can leave a link in the description. But you could enter and you could win a whole bunch of money, but you had to have like 30 panels done. And I discovered that the competition existed about 30 days before the finish date. So I tried to do 30 panels in 30 days and it was a little bit too much. I think I got to like 20 something. So I was pretty close, but I wasn't quite there. Yeah, so I didn't end up entering in the end, and then I just kind of stopped after that. Just a portrait, and then this was also going to be like the princess of the land in my comic. Again, didn't really go very far with that. Trying to do a logo. When I did finally upload it to Webtoons, you need like a little avatar image of the comic. I didn't go with that. I went with something else later. Oh, that was a big beastie snake. I actually forget this part of the story because I didn't finish it. These guys, this was the very first time I played Dungeons and Dragons, and you'll see if you ever look through any of my other sketchbooks, I play that a lot and I draw it a lot. I was an elf archer, an elf ranger, and one of my best friends was a dwarf, just like fighter, because we'd never played before. We picked something pretty simple, and he was not a chaotic evil character, but we argued in the pub, and all these people were like looking at us because I was like, no, we should go and do the quest, and he was like, no, let's stay in town and see if we can make more money. And then the people asked us to leave because we were like arguing, and then the dwarf spat on them, and then the guards came and there was like a big fight. It was chaos. It was it was a lot of fun. And that was my first encounter with Dungeons and Dragons. So now I play it all the time and I love it. And I think this is like the last picture in this book, which is a unicorn, really stylized. Yeah, I like him. I think he's really cute, and I think I should do more characters and stuff like that. There is a slight sketch of a man there. This was gonna be someone's tattoo, but I ended up doing a bigger version in a bigger book of that one, so that didn't really go anywhere. Cool. And that's that sketchbook. Yeah, give you a little like insight into my mind and my workflow. It's obviously not very well. Some of these Drawtober ones are a bit neater, but there's a lot of scribble, chicken scratch in here, and I think that's what a lot of my sketchbooks look like. Because I'm just more of a chaotic character, you know. I am not very organized in general at all. Thanks for joining me though. That was really fun going through that book. Thanks, guys.